This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome. We're an award-winning show dedicated to empowering women in every profession through inspiring stories and expert insights. No topic is off limits on our show. We power women on the road to success with expert and celebrity interviews and information you need. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
Self-care is something women often neglect. Many times we're way too busy taking care of other people. When we're in business, we often put ourselves second to that as well. Chris Atley helps women achieve success through self-care. She's the author of Abundant Soul-utions, a mompreneur's guide to manifesting success through self-care. Chris believes female entrepreneurs can manifest it all. They just need to define what having it all means by stopping the debilitating doubt spiral and remembering to trust who they are at their deepest core. Chris is a highly sought-after coach and international TEDx speaker. She's been interviewed by Bloomberg News, CBS, NBC, and other media outlets. Her websites are decisionsbydesign.com and chrisatley.com. We have Chris with us today to share her insights. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome and for having me on.
This is an honor. Thank you, Chris. We're looking forward to all of your insights. And, we're all about women's empowerment, and you're definitely a person who's doing that. I love that. I thought we could first talk a little bit about your background and what got you started doing what you're doing for women.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll try to do the, I almost said Cole's Notes. Kathy will get that one. That's the Canadian in me, where we could read the short notes for school in Canada, but
yeah, we call those Cliff Notes in the U.S.
There we go.
Yeah. So it's Cole and Cliff, two guys I've never met.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh! So I'll try to keep it short, but essentially, I knew I always wanted to help people, and I ended up going to university for psychology, and I had a summer job along the way where my stepdad worked at an insurance company. And I actually chose getting into insurance. I know a lot of people sort of fall into it. I chose it because I really felt like that was where I could help people when they had been injured in car accidents. And so I started off as a claims adjuster when I was finished university, like 3 days later, and worked my way up there and, was handling, by the time I finished up, large property and liability claims, like for the province of Ontario and the prisons and Home Depot and all sorts of things. And I loved it when I felt like I was helping people, but along the way, it really became adversarial with seeing people at their worst. And so I knew I wanted to make a change, and it took me a little bit to discover coaching because it really wasn't very popular back then. So this was, I guess, in 2006 or 2005, I guess I would say, when I really started exploring things. And I thought about going back to school, for psychology or for business, which is kind of funny with what I'm doing now. So I had those interests, but it took me a little bit to really find out about coaching. And it wasn't until later on I had my first child. We had our son, Jude. And a few months later, my dad passed away unexpectedly. And it really got me doing some soul searching, really questioning what this life is all about and sort of, what we're here to do. And I didn't realize I was asking those questions at the time because I really was in that, more grief state and just really feeling like something had to give. And, but looking back on it now, that's what I was doing. And it just ended up that I watched the movie The Secret, and that changed everything for me with thinking that our thoughts can become a reality and all this daydreaming I had always done could be put to good work. And then along the way, I found out about coaching. And that's really when I got more into that. I hired my own coach to make sure it was a fit, and ended up making all these changes for myself that I wasn't expecting. I thought I was sort of just checking her out and made all these changes for myself, really self-care related, to be honest. And I thought that this sounds like a fit. And I ended up getting certified and then started working with clients from there. And it just sort of led into naturally attracting female entrepreneurs. And they sort of wanted to know, how I had started my business and what I was doing. And, I learned about online marketing really early. And so that with that type of skill set, I guess I would say, is what, people were attracted to for growing their business. And it's just sort of evolved from there, with really getting deeper into mindset and beliefs and what keeps us stuck, and how to move through and really achieve our goals and dreams. So I tried to keep that short, but that was kind of long.
Well, I love all of that. That really gives our listeners a perspective from what you've encountered. I mean, you've been there, done that, and you understand what women, it isn't just women in business. Women do have these self-doubts, no matter what they're doing. And of course, when a woman's in business, that business is an extension of herself. It's almost like her baby.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. It's a real personal thing when things don't go the right direction, or somebody says, gee, I didn't like that product, and you can't discipline your business. It's like, wait a minute here. What do I do? Why am I a failure? I think women do this more than men.
Yes. And you know what I was just thinking when you said that? We can't discipline ourselves, but holy moly, do we beat ourselves up for it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
And, that's where the work lies. And, that's the thing. If we want to be successful in business, I mean, really, I guess anything in life, but you're right. It really comes out, or seems to, in the entrepreneurial world, because if we don't get out of our own way, we're not going to be successful and have the businesses that we're wanting.
And you're talking about thoughts can be our reality, but a lot of times people on the outside, they can look really positive and that they're headed in the right direction. But on the inside, it's like, can I do this? Will this happen? Am I crazy? All of these negative things we tell ourselves. And I think women do it more than men. I don't know if it's because society tells us to do this. And of course, women do have a lot more obstacles. They have to prove themselves to be worthy to be in business because they're a woman, which we're making progress. But I mean, that's an additional obstacle men don't have.
Yes, totally. And then we also, seem to take on all the other roles too, right? At the same time. So really for any woman who's in a career, or who even has chosen to be a stay-at-home mom, it's whatever you've decided, we have all of these roles as well. And I really think, it's sort of an honor to be the nucleus of the family, but at the same time, that comes with, a lot of weight and expectations on our shoulders as well.
Oh, yeah. Women. Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Being a woman in a man-dominated world, like in mining, when I just learned that dozer last year, I'm getting on the largest dozer in the world. All eyes are on me to see if I'm going to fail, right? Because there's that expectation. Well, number one, my age, and I'm a woman, and how is she going to, because these just to give you a bit of perspective, the cliffs are about the height of almost a Grand Canyon. There's sheer drops, and you're pushing down towards the shovel, and it's a very precarious job. So the expectation is that there's no way she's going to make it, right? And to overcome that and to basically kick ass, I'm like, damn, look at me go, right? And to pass, do that.
Kathy, you're badass at what you do. It's so cool.
So I'm like, damn.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm giving you a high five, like through the weeds here.
Thank
That's
you.
so awesome.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, these dozers, you got to flip them backwards, and you're backing up towards the edge of the cliff, and you got to drop the ripper over the edge, and then rip up, and like it's dark, and it's foggy, and you can't see, and it's scary as heck. But it's just that it's just that underlying expectation that everyone was watching and just waiting almost to pounce to see if you're going to fail. And when you don't, and when you do well, of course, the odd few will say something. Like the one guy, he was saying, "Man, you sure got some balls." He said, "There's most men that I know won't even do what you just did." I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't really a choice. Sometimes you get stuck in a predicament. And you're like, oh crap. But no. So yeah. So
oh my gosh, yeah,
that expectation,
extra, the extra eyeballs are on you, and then not even like giving you the kudos afterwards.
Yeah.
But like I know, so it makes me feel good. So now I was telling Shelley this, that now ever since I've done the training and I moved on to different things, it's like I walk with my back is a little straighter, and I walk taller, and I got more confidence. Like, you should have seen what I did last week.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
That's
so
awesome.
Either way, it makes me a better person. It makes me feel better about who I am and what I've accomplished.
Yeah, and what you're capable of. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah. And I think that women don't necessarily always look at their capabilities.
That's the thing. They don't.
Yeah.
They tend to look at what the failures. It's so easy to look at what you haven't done or what the mistakes that you made. But what about our qualities that we have? Focus on the qualities. Focus on the good.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure that one out, to flip that switch in my head.
Yep.
Right. And I know as you were speaking, I'm reminded of too, we tend to look outside of ourselves, right? For like that validation and approval.
Yep.
And I think you're right too, that it comes from society and beliefs being passed down. And even though we're making progress, it's still there, right? Like instead of just feeling good enough with who we are on the inside, and not getting our worth from those things outside of us. And that's why it can be so hard with running a business too, because it's like you take it so personally. If you get a no, or someone's not interested, or you don't have the results, and people are saying, how's your business going? All those things. And it just really impacts the self-worth.
It really does.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you're enjoying this informative episode of Women Road Warriors, I wanted to mention Kathy and I explore all kinds of topics that will power you on the road to success. We feature a lot of expert interviews. Plus, we feature celebrities and women who've been trailblazers. Please check out our podcast at womenroadwarriors.com and click on our episodes page. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts, on all the major podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, you name it. Check us out and bookmark our podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other sites. And tell others about us. We want to help as many women as possible. Overcoming the self-doubt spiral is a key element to women succeeding in business or in life. Women tend to be more prone to imposter syndrome and doubts that get in the way. We can be hard on ourselves and not engage in the self-care that will help us succeed. We need to learn how to get out of our own way and stop beating ourselves up. This is some of what we're discussing with Chris Atley, who's on a mission to change how we think. She's the author of Abundant Soul-utions, a mompreneur's guide to manifesting success through self-care. She helps women learn to give themselves credit and not get their worth from those things outside of themselves, and give themselves the credit for the strengths that they do have. Chris, do you think, I know women look for validation outside of themselves. Do men do that? Is that where the missing link is? Having to seek other people's approval all the time. You're not always going to get it. Not everybody's going to like you. That's just the way the world is. Do men have the attitude, hey, I really don't give a crap what you think. I'm doing this.
I'm like, let's call my husband in here. He's in the next room. No, no, I don't know. I don't think that they do have it as much, or, just from things I've read and through studying some of these things, I don't think that they do, or at least not to the degree. And I'm sure there's the exception. I don't want to say all men, maybe with more sensitive or empathetic people, but I think women as a whole were brought up to be people pleasers and being polite and, just checking in with other people, which are great qualities, but not at the expense of ourselves at the same time.
Women make the world a kinder, gentler place with nurturing and kindness. And that's something that we all need. That's something that makes humanity a much better group. But sometimes with business, you have to be assertive, and it doesn't mean you have to be mean about it. And I think women struggle with the assertiveness. Asking for what they need, going for that contract, and not feeling like maybe I shouldn't ask for so much,
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then not stopping when you get so many no's, because that's going to happen in business too. Right. Yeah. And then that's what I like to call the doubt spiral, because it's like you might get a no and then you're saying, it's okay. There's 7 billion people on the planet. I can't help everyone. And logically you're, saying it's okay. And then you get another one, and it just starts to chip away at you. And the next thing you know, you're down a total doubt spiral. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my, service? Nobody wants to work with me. I'm terrible, right? I may as well quit and give up and then throw in the towel.
How do people break loose or break free of the doubt spiral? Because you get that nagging little voice going, I told you so. You shouldn't have done this. How stupid was that? You're so stupid. All the things that can run around in our heads. It's like, how do we kick that voice out and say, take a hike?
Yes. And this is where that deeper, or what I've found anyway to help, is doing the deeper subconscious work. So, really looking at, and I do a combination of NLP and belief breakthrough work, and there's lots of great modalities out there. But one thing that I've found to be really effective is something called timeline therapy. And you're basically looking at what is the feeling that comes up when you get a no. And this can be applied to, all sorts of different things. But in this example, what's the feeling that's coming up? And allowing yourself to trace it back in time to where the feeling first started. And it's amazing what you can trace it back to. So as an example, when this was happening to me, because I had to work through it as well, what I dug out was a feeling of getting a no meant deep at my core feeling abandoned. And it came from my mom and dad getting a divorce, and my dad, not living with us. And I had a great relationship with my dad. So it wasn't even that, but it was this sense of like feeling abandoned with him leaving and doing some traveling when I was at a younger age, and, not being as much a part of my life as I would have wanted. And there were some hurt feelings. And that's what was coming up every time I was getting a no. So no wonder I wanted to like run away and hide from that. Right.
Yeah.
And then so what you can do instead is once you shine a light, I like to say shine a light on these things, on these beliefs, because deep down it's these beliefs and decisions that we've made when we're younger. And as a result, right? So for me to run away or to, check out or whatever would have been my coping mechanism to feel safe. So once you can shine a light on that, like, okay, that maybe served me before, but this is not serving me in business. And so what do I need to believe instead? And that's when we can start to reprogram our subconscious mind with new and empowered beliefs, right? Like this is an old story when it starts to come up. This isn't true. And then what's my new belief that I want to instill? And then how can I act from that belief? What would I do instead, right? I'd keep going. I'd pick up the phone. I'd go to that networking event. I'd know my success is certain. Whatever that is. And you keep repeating that and making decisions from that place. And then you start to create, which is the empowered piece. Now you're making empowered decisions instead of disempowered. And then you start to create those results that go with it that strengthen the new belief. So you're essentially reprogramming your belief system so that you can show up differently and create different results.
That makes sense. It puts you in a position of control, and you can think more logically. When you get that no, you can say, okay, that's not me. What do I need? How do I need to regroup? How can I structure my path so I can reach this goal? What are my goals? You constantly have to create your own marketing plan. It's a business process. And I think when we step away from thinking logically and let that emotion get in there, it really hampers us.
It really does. And it's almost like using your conscious mind to look at what's in the subconscious. So once you sort of bring it to the light, then you can consciously choose to say that doesn't serve me anymore. And apply that more logical side of things and start to, recreate your belief systems, because otherwise it's running the show and we don't even know. So it's, I see it all the time. It's what was sabotaging me. It's what sabotages other people. If you think about all our beliefs around money and success, and that was another one I had to dig out. Like, I was saying I wanted this level of success, but then deep down I felt that wealthy people were rude and too cool for school. And so, that was another thing that I had to shift my beliefs around, because I had a value conflict and didn't want to be that person deep down. Therefore, thought I was doing all these things to grow my business, but it was just a bunch of busy work and keeping it the success I wanted at arm's length.
Chris, I come from a very bad background of lots of family violence, like domestic violence. I should be dead 10 times over from it. Like, it's really traumatic. And so going into a man's world like mining and stuff, it was very difficult for me because, number one, I've been told my entire life that I'm useless, I'm stupid, I'm good for nothing, I'm a waste of skin, I pollute the air, yada, yada, yada. So learning, even though I spent a year in therapy in this women's center, learning to change that is a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Learning to appreciate my qualities, like I was saying earlier. Well, so the first month I'm into driving the biggest truck in the world, which literally is a building. It's so big. I have to go through. They asked me, of all people, to bring the truck through this intersection, and coming through it you have to go really slow because these trucks are so big and the sound that they make. Well, they had to bring security on either side of the road to block the road, so like little pickups wouldn't cross the intersection while I'm coming through. So at the worst possible moment, I'm coming through the middle of the intersection and I get a post-traumatic flash that was so powerful. It hit me from behind and it took my breath away. It just kind of went whoo, like a tidal wave. And all I saw in front of me, I didn't see the road. I couldn't see the steering wheel. All I saw were the most humiliating moments of my life. It was like a flashcard, like a deck of cards. And I could hear the voices, not hear the voices as in, illness voices, but I could hear them, you scum, you useless, you're this, you're that, and all these names. And it was kind of swirling around my head. And in that moment, I made a decision, and I'm like, oh, hell no. And I rolled down the window, and I took all that crap, that black cloud, and I just tossed it out. I got it out of the cab of the truck, and I'm like, oh, I said, my past does not define my future. And I said, and so I look around, and I'm like, to all those assholes who told me that I was this, stupid and useless and no good for nothing, who was driving this truck? Me. Right? I had to talk myself through that moment. And so then I had this big gaping hole of pain inside me, right? Because I just got rid of it. Well, when you get rid of one, you got to replace it with something positive. So I did the only thing I knew at the time, because there was people lined up on either side of the road. Like, there was a lot of people. They're just looking at the truck go by. They don't see who's driving because this thing is so big, right? And the sound they make. Well, I did the Queen wave, and that was my moment, because now I'm like, hi, it's Kathy. Yes. And I'm blowing kisses like an idiot, but whatever. In that moment was transformative, in the sense that from that moment on, anytime I've had any type of low self-esteem or questions or doubt, I grab my power back, because I'm like, no, my past does not define my present. I worked hard to be where I'm at. It's okay to make mistakes, but it's okay to recognize it and keep trying. So yeah, so I did the Queen wave. That was my moment.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
That's
so much.
Powerful. Yeah.
And I love that you were actually living it, because a lot of times we create a visual, and it's like you just gave everyone listening, and myself included, a visual. And you actually lived it, and how powerful. Oh my gosh. And then I also have to say, like, swearing helps too. Right?
Oh yeah.
We're on air. I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, there may be a few cuss words.
Swearing and a wave. The winning combo.
Yeah. But yeah, no, true story. It's changed. It changed everything from my perspective from that day on. Yep.
Well, and what I'm hearing is you made the decision. It's like, you had that awareness, what we're talking about, which was in the subconscious mind, and the thoughts you had about yourself. You knew that, you had the awareness, and then you, in that moment, were like, no, like, absolutely not. This is not going to define me anymore. And then you replaced it with that new empowered thought of waving and giving love, and like, just how powerful. Oh my goodness.
It really is. Yeah. Very fortuitous, Kathy, because you realized you were in control. You were not going to let these old demons run your life. And so many times we feel so helpless because this stuff does come up out of nowhere.
And it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just in the middle of the intersection. I'm like, nope, this stops right here.
Yeah.
Who is driving this truck? Me.
That's right. Yeah.
Me. Right. So,
and that's the perfect analogy too. And I know you were living it, and you were actually in the truck, but it's, I love that. Like, just thinking like, you're choosing the direction, you're driving the truck, and it's so true. And, one thing that I've learned with the subconscious is it's not that it's necessarily bad, but it has to, we've taken on all these beliefs and decisions, and you probably took on some decisions because of the way you were treated about staying safe. And, when we're in business or we're doing new things, like you were about to do something massive, it wants to keep us safe. And so it will throw in there those thoughts and things like that, because it's designed to keep us safe. Like, if we see a tiger on the street, great, we want to use it, but when we're doing new things, it is going to try to self-sabotage us, because it is trying to keep us safe. But then we have to like teach it, that's not safe anymore. I'm not safe with those old thoughts. Maybe it served a purpose, when I was younger, but now it's not. And so what do we need to think now instead?
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Many women struggle with a self-doubt spiral. It's important to identify the feeling that comes up when you deal with rejection or a no. It could have roots in your childhood. It's a matter of reprogramming our internal belief system and changing the way we handle things. Keep repeating this and making decisions from that place, and you'll make empowered decisions. Reprogram your internal beliefs that put you in a place of fear or self-doubt. You then start creating success results because you show up differently with a new internalized belief system that breaks the self-doubt spiral. Chris Atley is teaching us about all of this. She's the author of Abundant Soul-utions, a mompreneur's guide to manifesting success through self-care. Chris believes female entrepreneurs can manifest it all. They just need to define what having it all means by stopping the doubt spiral and remembering to trust who they are at their deepest core and shed the internal beliefs that are incorrect, which are designed to keep us safe, but end up undermining our success. Well, you know, Chris, when you're in business, it's calculated risk-taking. You don't succeed unless you do take some risks. Maybe women are more biologically wired for security, simply because we're biologically wired to raise children and keep them safe. So is that where some of this conflict occurs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime we have to do something that's new, it feels uncomfortable. So you know that a phrase, I don't know who came up with this, but get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's exactly what that is, because when you're growing a business, you're putting yourself out there in new ways that feel uncomfortable. And that's where those fears come up, right? And where we don't feel safe. And then we have to realize, and part of the work I'll do with clients is, you know, what does your empowered future look like? And actually step into that place, like physically, and where you've achieved it all, even though you haven't yet, but what does it feel like? And how are you safe over there? And you realize I'm actually more safe over there because I'm creating what I want to. The results are flowing. I'm working with amazing clients. You know, I'm a lot of times the spiritual component comes in. I'm connected to something bigger than me that's guiding me, you know, whatever that looks like for people. And they realize, no, I'm actually more safe over there. So it's like really getting to the crux of the issue deep down, whether it's about, you know, safety or love or approval. It's usually connected to one of those at a core level. And we just have to go, I am safe over here. I am loved, you know, all of those things that are holding us back, how they're actually honored in the place of where I am having the business and the lifestyle that I'm wanting.
What did the pandemic do with your clients? I would imagine, I mean, so many businesses were totally upended. This came out of nowhere. Businesses were shut down. It really had a very negative impact on not only businesses, but employees. People were looking at themselves going, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? People really started doing a lot of self-examination. How did people keep that self-doubt at bay?
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's interesting. A lot of my clients were already running a business for themselves, were already online, been using Zoom for years. Some people did have to pivot in terms of their offerings and services. But for the most part, I want to say it was really more what you just touched on with the self-examination of, who do I want to spend my time with? And really kind of just tuning in and seeing the relationships that really were serving them and bringing them joy, and setting some firm boundaries around the ones that weren't, especially when they were, we were all re-entering when things started opening back up.
That makes sense. So what would you say are the biggest obstacles women put in their way? We are good at throwing boulders in the road. I know I personally have. It's like, why'd I do that? Why'd I do that?
Right? Yes. I would say, so if we kind of circle back to the self-care piece, what I've noticed is, I'm big into the law of attraction, and our thoughts create our reality, and like attracts like, and all of those great things. And what I've noticed along the way is that we have a really hard time receiving, especially women. So we're such givers, and, like we've touched on here today, and we have a problem receiving. And with the law of attraction, you've got to be able to give and receive, right? And really, to me, this comes back from coming from a place of love. So, reframing and recreating our belief systems. Our beliefs have energy, all those things. And I really think that's the missing piece to the law of attraction is we can say we want these things, but if we don't look at what's going on in our subconscious and what we're believing and what we're actually putting out on a deeper level, then we can't shift what's going on. And the other part to it is being able to receive. And as women, I think that we have a harder time with that. And that's why I've found self-care to be so important. And to me, it's much more than, just a mani-pedi, which is great and can serve a purpose. But it's all about how we're making decisions and coming from an empowered place. Mm-hmm. And so when we allow ourselves to do the things that we love, whatever that is, even if
my beach time this afternoon.
Yeah, your beach time, right? I love that. Yeah. Or like a hot bath, or playing music, or, just sometimes for women, it's drinking their coffee hot. It's like, it can be the most simplest thing, but we're not letting ourselves do it. And we have to start being able to receive, because then what we're doing is we're having a shift and saying we're worthy enough. We're worthy of doing the things we love. We're worthy of receiving results in our business. We're worthy, of having a life that we love. We're worthy of working with amazing clients. So it really gets us into that place of self-love, self-worth. And with that, there's a whole bunch of things that, can go with it, which I touch on the different ones in the book. But, we might have to set a hard boundary with someone. That's coming back to self-worth and self-love. We might have to reframe old belief systems. But it's, we might need to add in more self-care. And it's really about having that shift from a disempowered place to an empowered place, so we can make decisions from that place and be able to receive all the goodness that's already there for us.
Get rid of the self-guilt, the self-doubt of, gee, I don't deserve this when you do encounter success and prosperity, and be willing to accept compliments. I think men kind of act men act entitled. They expect a compliment. Women, I think, almost want to bow down and say, oh, thank you, that somebody has complimented them. They deserve that compliment.
That's such a big one.
Yeah.
And it's like all those little things, they add up. And if we can just start, again, shining a light on these things. And I always say with the compliments, like, we want to justify, oh, I got this, if someone says, I love your outfit. Oh, I got it on sale. It's
I do that. I do that.
It's like just practice saying, I love it too, right? But it's something as simple as that, can be far reaching, really.
In treatment, in that women's center that I went to, there was an actual exercise that we had to do because women are so, especially the one by the time you hit treatment, you're a mess, right? And you can't accept compliments. So it was a whole week of having to compliment each other and say nothing other than thank you.
Aw, I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Which here's another thing. The best word I ever learned was when I was 40 in that women's center was the word no. I could never say no before, ever. It was
That's
like, what? I could say no? And the word boundaries? What? Like, really? It was like I opened up a whole new world. I actually had to practice. I had to practice making dates with my ex-husband, but then it was my boyfriend, and break up and, cancel the date because I couldn't do it. I had no, it's as if, I didn't want to hurt his feelings or whatever. It says, no, you're going to call him and you're going to cancel the date and you're not even going to give an excuse. You're just saying, no, you can't make it. And I did it. And it was my practice, right? And now, oh my God, I love saying no and not having to explain why. It's just
right. Isn't it so liberating that I was talking about that with a friend the other day. It's like, it's so uncomfortable at first. And those are all those things that are uncomfortable, but they're, once we practice, we're like, oh, this is actually really liberating and freeing and you feel empowered. Yeah.
Yep.
And
I love that.
Setting boundaries, feeling empowered, getting rid of that self-doubt. Those are components that work with anyone, whether they're in business or not. And it's so important for women. Chris, I love your insight. Your book, Abundant Solutions, A Mompreneur's Guide to Manifesting Success Through Self-Care. Is that on your website or can people buy it on Amazon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's on the website and Amazon. If you go to the website, though, there's also a free self-care for success course that we've paired with the book.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what is your website?
Oh, yes. So it's Chris, CHRIS, Atley, ATLEY.com. And if you add a /book on there, then you can go right to the book page.
Your book would benefit anyone, I think.
Yeah.
With the philosophies, with the insight and the techniques, because I think that's what people are looking at. They need a method. How do I do this? They hear, this is how things should be. Well, that's terrific. How do I get there? You're giving them a guideline, a template.
Yes. And that is the feedback that I've gotten that, other female entrepreneurs and other women in corporate are like, no, this is for us too. So, there's a little bit of a focus in there about some of the, the unique challenges that moms have along with running a business. But for the most part, it really is just looking at these things, the topics we talked about today, and taking a deeper dive. And then there's a little coach approach section at the end of each chapter where I walk people through some of these exercises that we've been talking about so they can have the shifts right then and there. And just, because that's what it's all about. It's like having those little mindset shifts and then just being able to go out and create something new.
This is terrific. This is exactly the kind of guidance that women need, because women definitely have tons of challenges. If they're moms, even if they're not, if they're in business, we tend to do too many things. We need to clone ourselves and stop this. It's all of this that we put our own obstacles in there. It's like we can't do it all, and we need to prioritize, and we need to be nice to ourselves. It's so important.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love what you said, Kathy, about, this was all new, and it's so true. It's like we were not taught any of this growing up, and I hope it's more mainstream now. I mean, my daughter does not have a problem setting boundaries. She is like
it's sad that I had to learn it at 40.
Right? I know. I'm like,
I learned it.
Yep.
Like this next generation, they've evolved. I think we're on track with that. But my daughter will just say, I'm good.
Yep.
And my mom and I laugh. We're like, that's all it needs to be is I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. We're making progress. But yeah. And it's good that you're out here, Chris, teaching women it's okay to say no. It's okay to just say, I'm good. So
Yep.
this is wonderful. I really appreciate you being on the show, Chris.
Oh, thank you so much. Truly, it's been so much fun talking with both of you. I love it.
And vice versa.
Yeah, it's been such a delight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. On our website, we also have a selection of podcasts just for women. There are a series of podcasts from different podcasters. So if you're in the mood for women's podcasts, just click the Power Network tab on womenroadwarriors.com. You'll have a variety of shows to listen to anytime you want to. Podcasts made for women. Women Road Warriors is on all the major podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, and others. So check us out, and please follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Midnight.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The shadow knows.